Beginning embroidery. What do you need? Well, enthusiasm for a start, but let's take a look at some of the equipment that you might use when you're doing some embroidery. Most important, of course, are your needles. There are specific needles designed for embroidery, and as they go up in size from 8, 9, 10 and so on, they get finer the higher the number. The average needle used is about a 9 or a 10, and that will take 2 strands of embroidery thread quite easily. However, depending on the thread, the thickness of it, the fabric you're using, you may need to use a thicker needle or a finer needle. So that's embroidery needles. They have a nice long eye and a sharp point. Chenille needles are also useful. They are slightly shorter, but have quite a big eye and nice sharp tip. Again, up in the 20s are the high numbers for those, and they're finer up at that level up there. So about a 24, 26 is a good size needle to use if you find that easier than using embroidery needles. Other needles that are also good are crewel needles, C-R-E-W-E-L. I don't have any here, but they also have a large eye and are a long needle and very handy to use for doing embroidery as well. Let's take a look at the threads. Probably the most common threads used are the skeins of threads that come like this in all varieties of colours, textures, variegated plain colours, shades and so on. They are made up of 6 strands, 6 individual strands of thread. You can use the 6 or you can divide it up. We'll take a look at that later. Divide it up for a particular project that you're using. Other threads that are handy is this thread here. It's called cotton embroidery. It's used as it cannot be split, so it's used as it is. A lovely fine mercerized cotton thread, lovely to use. Other companies produce a similar type of product. This is a sulky product on a spool. It's also used in place of 2 strands of thread, as is this product here by Aurifil. These ones on a spool are useful for machine embroidery as well as hand embroidery, so they're very handy for that. These products here, which come on little spools like this or little balls like this, are again cotton threads. They cannot be split, so they're used similar to the cotton embroidery. They are produced by a company called Presentia, or this thread here, Valdani, which would be a very popular company for beautiful, beautiful threads. These ones are very often used, particularly in the likes of wool embroidery. Another product similar to those are, some companies or individual people will produce and dye their own threads, variegated, plain colours, so on. They're also beautiful to use as well. Bottom of the package, so it stays nice and safe inside in that package there, ready for use. So that's silk, beautiful shine, lovely product to use. After threads, you might like to consider a thimble to protect the top of your finger, whichever type of thimble you might like. There are a variety of them now available on the market. You have your traditional metal one. You have these what are called jelly thimbles, which are very comfortable to wear, or this one here, which has an opening on it but has a nice firm top. A nice little scissors with a sharp tip, nice sharp point or tip on it would be good for cutting knots and trimming back threads. A hoop, if you can use it, is really important because it helps keep your tension and your stitches nice and even. Cover the inner hoop. As you can see, a hoop is made up of 2 parts, an outer part with a screw and an inner ring. Cover the inner ring with some bias binding, preferably white, and that prevents the fabric slipping in your hoop while you're stitching, keeps it nice and taut. For marking designs, my favourite is to use a mechanical pencil. Keep lines as simple and as fine as possible. You can use the likes of these heat transfer pens or friction pens, which are removed when heated. They can be a little bit thick on your embroidery, so just to be mindful of that. Other products, there are transfer pens, there are special pencils, all sorts. So there's the variety of products out there to use, but the simplest is the mechanical pencil. When it comes to fabrics, what type of fabrics are good to use would be cotton, calico, linen, some wool. I like to prepare the fabric with a little bit of the lightest of interfacing on the back, just to add a little bit of stability to the fabric and to hide any threads, little ends of threads that may show through on the back of a product or item that you might be making. So there you go. That's just a quick little intro to some of the equipment or products you might use when you're doing embroidery. Happy stitching.